Good evening. This is Friday, September 19th, 46 days until the 2008 presidential election. Senator John McCain, having learned that the President of the United States does not have the authority to fire the chairman of the SEC, today called for the resignation of the chairman of the FEC. In our fifth story in the countdown tonight, John McCain is Bob Dole. You need to know anything else? You want maybe a DNA test?
That kind of accountability and responsibility is missing in Washington today. That's why I believe that the chairman of the FEC should resign and leave office and be replaced.
Actually, kind of simple, Senator. The FEC is the Federal Election Commission, the agency which administers and enforces the financing of elections. You need to know anything more about that, just ask that Russ Feingold friend of yours. The SEC is the Securities and Exchange Commission, also the Southeastern Conference, but that's for another show. The Securities and Exchange Commission regulates the securities industry and the stock market, at least when the administration wants it to. More on that in a moment. Now for some basic facts about Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac.
And that same executive got $21 million of your money. And the other CEO, another supporter of Senator Obama, Mr. Raines, got $25 million of your money. Let's tell him to give it back. Let's tell him to give it back.
The problem, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac were private companies until both were taken over by the federal government on the 7th of this month. The House here at Countdown no longer taking bets on when the what he meant to say McCain campaign will claim that by your money, the Republican nominee meant shareholders, not taxpayers. And if getting the facts wrong is not working for Senator McCain, maybe attacking his opponent with his own transgressions will.
People like Senator Obama have been too busy gaming the system and haven't ever done a thing to actually challenge the system. You know, we've heard a lot of words from Senator Obama over the course of this campaign, but maybe just this once he could spare us the lectures and admit to his own poor judgment in contributing to these problems. The crisis on Wall Street started in the Washington culture of lobbying and influence peddling, and he was right square in the middle of it.
Senator Obama today actually right square in the middle of a meeting with 7 of his economic advisors, including the former chairman of the Fed, Paul Volcker, at a rally in Coral Gables, Florida, calling Senator McCain on the substance of his attack.
We can't change direction with somebody who says he's a new driver but wants to follow the same roadmap. That's what this election's all about. We can't keep on having drivers who are going to drive us into a ditch. This morning, Senator McCain gave a speech in which his big solution to this worldwide economic crisis was to blame me for it. This is a guy who spent nearly 3 decades in Washington, and after spending the entire campaign saying I haven't been in Washington long enough, he apparently now is willing to assign me responsibility for all of Washington's failures. I think it's pretty clear that Senator McCain's a little panicked right now.
Why would Senator McCain be a little panicked right now? The latest numbers out of the Rust Belt states, possible cause for alarm. Likely voters, including those leaning towards a candidate, giving Senator Obama a 9-point lead in Michigan, according to the new Marist poll, conducted entirely after the economic crisis hit earlier this week. Among likely independent voters, Senator Obama up by 22. In Pennsylvania, the Democrat leading by 5. Among likely independents, Senator Obama's lead growing to 9. A statistical dead heat in Ohio still, with Obama up 2 among likely voters. Likely independent voters literally tied. Let's turn now to our own Eugene Robinson, also associate editor and columnist at The Washington Post. Gene, good evening.
Evening, Keith.
We've spent much of this week comparing this run for the White House to the 1992 campaign and Bill Clinton's mantra of "it's the economy, stupid." But with Senator McCain this week, should we have instead been focusing on the President Clinton's re-election run against Senator Dole in '96 instead? Is this not hearkening back to the Republican race that year?
Well, that's an interesting time shift. You know, look, any way you look at it, it was a bad week for Senator McCain. I think the McCain campaign would acknowledge that. He seemed slow throughout the week. He seemed to on the wrong foot throughout the week. He kind of, you know, he got it mixed up. He didn't inspire confidence that he knew exactly what was going on, who might be responsible for it, or what to do about it. And, you know, he was just a step slow throughout the week and never quite got on top of it. And I think, you know, you're seeing in the polls the results of that.
But when somebody, it seems like they're a couple of steps behind and try to make up for it. McCain on Monday was talking about the fundamentals of our economy are strong repeatedly. He's gone from that position Monday to telling 60 Minutes in this interview that it will air on Sunday that it doesn't matter what the technical definition of a recession is, we are in a recession. How did he go from fundamentals strong to recession in 6 days?
By a circuitous route, actually, because we start with fundamentals strong, and then later in the day, fundamentals meant workers somehow. Therefore, you know, the economy wasn't strong. There was a crisis, and then the next day it was, you know, we should not bail out AIG, and the following day, well, we just bailed out AIG, and you know, it was a great idea. It was back and forth. It was a kind of zigzag path that he charted through the week, and never quite settled on a line that seemed to have this, you know, seemed to go in a direction.
We saw on Wednesday what happened when Senator McCain visited that GM assembly line in Grand Rapids, and it was not invitation only. An impromptu Obama rally broke out. Are we starting to see the effect of the economic crisis in kind of an almost direct, maybe one-stop pattern on McCain's polling numbers in Michigan or elsewhere?
You know, it'd be interesting to see. I don't know if we can look at those poll numbers like the Marist poll, which showed that 9-point gap, and see if there are any internals that would point directly to the economic crisis. But I think you have to say that it seems to be having an impact. The polls in general, not just in the Rust Belt and not just in Michigan, but the national polls and in other states, you know, are trending in Obama's direction. And you know, is this the end of the Republican convention bounce? Is the Palin bloom off the rose, or is this a direct result of the economic crisis? I think it's probably a combination of those factors. But the economy is I think a good issue for Obama.
I'm sure that Obama's campaign would like this to be the case. This would be the takeaway from this week, that we got a glimpse this week of what it might be like in a McCain presidency. Is that a fair takeaway, or is that just a political objective at this point?
Well, I think it's an objective at this point. Certainly, it's you're right that that's what the Obama campaign would like you to take away, and what the McCain campaign would not like you to take away. You know, these economic issues are going to be with us for a while. You know, things seem to have calmed down a bit, but who knows what'll happen Monday? And meanwhile, there's going to be we're going to have to come up with some sort of massive rescue plan that's going to cost hundreds of billions of dollars. That all has to be worked out. Obama and McCain are not going to be able to sit on the sidelines while this happens. They're going to have to be involved, and they're going to have to, you know, vote at some point on this plan. And so, you know, again, the economy issue is going to be with us, and it could be decisive.
That's right. They're both in the Senate. I forgot. Eugene Robinson of the Washington Post. Thank you, sir. Have a good weekend.
You too, Keith.